for leisure.
Right. Yeah, good. Do you know what I live on the Isle of Man, so it's literally just floating around in the middle of the Irish Sea. And so Liverpool's like where I go now and again, but my mum's a Scouser, so I have this thing about Liverpool. That's all good though. The world. Let's give a big round of applause for Chloe.
Oh, are we live already?
Yeah, I thought we'd go without you. Are you in a suntan shop?
What?
That light behind you, you look like you're on a sunbed.
I'm sitting on the hotel's cat chair at the moment.
Ah, lovely. We've all got one of those. So excellent. Right, yeah, tie-dye it's my favorite shirt, Sean. So right, we've got some comments here today, Chloe. So Sean's a bit of a stud from the US that likes to follow us around everywhere. He says hello. So anyway, welcome. Thanks for joining us, Chloe. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. So I'm the only one that hasn't had a haircut today. I feel a little bit out of place, but yeah. Right. So, for those of us that don't know, Chloe, can you just give yourself like a real top line, like elevator high, an introduction to yourself?
Oh God. Okay. Right. I'm Chloe. I am a strong woman. So I've done a lot of things as a strong woman. I've won world European titles, set world record, been around a while. And I own my own coaching business as well, coaching strongman, strength, and now moving more into like life coaching and mindset stuff as well. So do a bit of everything. But yeah, strong woman is what I'm mainly known for, and it's something that's done a huge amount for me in my life.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll come back to that in a bit. So a couple of things, Chloe. What we want to do, we want to go sort of chronologically. It's the way that we've kind of figured out works well for us. So we'll start right at the beginning, and we've got like a question that we like to lead with a lot of the time. What's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory, like ever?
Anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything.
That always comes back to me as it's not really a memory. I think it must be when consciousness dawned upon me.
Right.
I must have been in a garden centre or something, and I just have this vision of being in a pram and seeing like dots, and I'm moving through somewhere. That's it.
Oh, nice. That's
so I must have been a baby, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
For all of these years, that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Garden centres of all the places. Did you have this thing as a kid? The garden centre was just. I hated going to the garden, except the sheds. I used to love in the sheds in the playing in there. But other than that, the garden centre was literally the worst place on earth.
Somewhere you get dragged with your nan.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, good. It's sort of like Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
I spent so much time at the garden centre.
Didn't.
Oh, you didn't miss out.
No, I do now.
Oh, okay.
At the garden centre. Adam,
is that your choice or Adam?
No, that's Adam's choice. My kid's autistic. He fucking loves any garden centre. We don't buy anything.
No, just walk around.
Yeah, we frequent the cafes at shops like the Range and different. Yeah, he loves it.
Oh, amazing. So it was garden centres that I hated, and then Sunday afternoon telly. We talked about this the other day, but it's like if you're British and you grew up in the 90s, it was Last of the Summer Wine, Antiques Roadshow, and what's the other one? Lovejoy, and it was like that was homework. It was like, oh, I got to do my homework in the next hour before I have my bath and bed.
Get your bath,
yeah.
Saturday night telly was the best though.
Yeah. Noel's house party. How old are you, Chloe? Sorry, should have asked that.
Yeah, I'm 29.
Okay.
Oh, you might not remember like Last of the Summer Wine.
I know of it, but don't have memories of it. But Antiques Roadshow was definitely on a bit longer and haunted me too.
Songs of Praise as well.
You might even be too young to remember like watching like Baywatch on a Saturday night or Gladiators, like the OG Gladiators.
I think I was like very small then.
Yeah. Talking of gladiators, Chloe, you'd be an awesome gladiator.
That's what I was
applied
going
and they
with.
didn't want to know.
Yeah, we're getting good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I embarrassed myself doing a full application video in my singlet, blowing a whistle, climbing ropes and everything. Nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't hear
Nothing
a thing.
back. You're
Honestly,
kidding.
you actually applied for it.
Yeah, I did.
You'd be perfect for it.
Never mind.
Yeah. Next series maybe. Right. All right. Okay. So you've got the earliest memory. Childhood for you. Did you have a happy childhood?
Yeah, on the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
I would say so.
Yeah. And where did you grow up?
Where I am now, really. So like when I was super young, I was in Tamworth.
Mm-hmm.
Mum and dad split up when I was like 8, but it was very amicable.
Yeah.
So like early childhood was dead easy for me. It was really nice, very supportive. Kind of teenage years were a bit rocky. Had a few little things that went on that weren't very nice. But in terms of like family and stuff, I always felt really supported. So I think I'm really fortunate with that.
Good.
It's not a very exciting place.
Well, you say that. Drayton Manor's round the corner.
I was just about to say we have Drayton Manor and we have the Snow Dome.
Hell yeah, and the zoo. You got loads going on. So Birmingham. So we're here, Tamworth, Birmingham here. Yeah. Pretty central, pretty Midlands. If for those of you in the US. Yeah, so we have quite a lot of our viewers are from the US, Chloe. So I'm just kind of giving them a little bit of context. So
I'm from the Highlands of Scotland.
Here at the moment.
You said Tamworth. I was like, fuck, is that London? I don't know where that is.
It might as well be to you. We've thought about moving up to the Highlands before. We spend a lot of time up in Scotland.
Yeah. So Yon's up here.
I imagine you've
real
come up to that more so, do you?
I have been to the Isle of Man. So like my aunt and uncle lived there. So I went over loads as a kid.
Really? That's amazing. Do you know whereabouts?
Yeah, so they were in Laxey when I was real young, and then moved over to Ramsey when I was a little bit older.
Ramsey. Good. Lovely places. North on the island. So the sun is always rising in Ramsey. Yeah, we all know each other on the island, so probably do know somehow. So childhood there, you grew up. School. How was school life for you? So generally speaking, school, how did it go?
It was all right, I feel a bit indifferent to school. Some people are like, oh, it's the best days of my life. I'd love to go back to school. I wouldn't. Being trapped in horrible dark rooms for hours, being forced to learn things that I have no interest in, and then be made to go home and do more work.
Yeah.
Not about that. Although I did do very well at school, and I found school, I didn't have a hard time. I had loads of good mates. So yeah, it was all right.
Okay, good.
Did you finish school or did you leave after your GCSEs?
I did the whole hog. So yeah, I did. Yeah, I did my GCSEs. I did my A levels. Oh, there I am. That's my graduation. But it took me a while to get there. So I actually went to the University of Sussex prior to that to study psychology. Had an awful time. Was a bit, quite depressed. It just wasn't for me. And then I left there, became a support worker and applied, and then did my learning disability nursing degree at Birmingham and graduated there with a degree in learning disability nursing. So I've done a lot of things.
I went to do learning disability nursing at the University of Stirling, and there was 37 of us there for the first week, and then all but 2 people, me and one other person, dropped out after the first week, and they cut the course.
Oh, wow! We had a lot of dropouts.
Instead of doing learning disability nursing, I went and did my SVQ level 4 in management of nursing, and then so my background is managing nursing homes, and I've worked for 10 years with adults with learning disabilities.
Stop. It's still I still love it. I think once you've worked, so I used to coach people with learning disabilities before I did my nursing, then obviously support work in that area as well, and my nursing was in. I just love it. Love it. It's such amazing people. It's such a good client group.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's should have said. I should have sent you that, Jake. We've got a lad in Inverness, and he goes to the weightlifting club. It's not strong, but he's obsessed with the Stokeman brothers. But he goes to the weightlifting club. He's obsessed with the Stokeman brothers. It's not Inverness, and I don't know why you're laughing. But he's entered his first weightlifting competition, the Down syndrome guy, and he's the fucking best, Richie. I'll text Jake the link so you can pull it up, because I can't pull anything up on this laptop.
Is it weightlifting, as in weightlifting?
Yeah,
oh, cool, nice.
Yeah, honestly, he's doing a British weightlifting meet soon.
Big up.
Oh,
Richie.
amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Jordan's brilliant with him.
They've British weightlifting have recently launched their adaptive games. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
that's awesome. They've got like. Oh, awesome. Okay. Is that you? Cool. So that was obviously taking us up to uni. Now you're you said you're 29. Obviously, university takes you up to I'm assuming 21, 22 years old.
Thereabout, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, from what I gather, I went right back on your Instagram, right?
Oh God.
And you're quite active on Instagram. So it took me a little while
for the business, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was going to be one of my questions later on, actually, about socials and how important they are to you.
Yeah.
I've been gradually learning that for a little while. However, this is, from what I can find, your first strength sport post.
Yeah, so that is Iowa International All-Round Weightlifting. That was kind of my gateway into strength sport. So I was always really active as a kid, and I did trampolining in a discipline called double mini trampoline.
Right.
I did like lower level, like national level in that, and just kept getting injured. And I kind of fell away from that as I was at uni. And my partner, because me and Matt have been together since we were like 18. So he was, oh, you should go to the gym. And I was like, I don't want to go to the gym, don't want to get big, don't want to get bulky, don't want to get injured, blah, 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 all the stuff girls normally say. And then somehow ended up in this Iowa association that he was a part of. And it's like International All-Round Weightlifting Association. Check it out another time, because that's a whole other story. But that's how I got into strength sports. That was a Welsh Open, and I think it was actually it might have been my first competition that I did. And yeah, it was, I think there was like a trap bar deadlift, there was a press. I didn't understand how any of it worked. So I was like, obviously you do 3 attempts.
Yeah.
And my 3 attempts had totaled more than someone else's if you added them all together. But they'd done more in the last one. And I was like, but why didn't I win? Because I won more. I got more altogether. Like, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Excuse me. How it all worked. But yeah, I guess that's where it all began for me. And I just, I'm someone that if I like something, I get really obsessed with it. It just got a little bit out of hand.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's one way of putting it. Yeah. 10 years later, here you go. Good. So that was your kind of like your entry into it all. So what that was about, I think that was about 10 years ago. So 2015-ish was that post was 6th of September 2015.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a decade of competing, in front of people in strength sports in some degree. So the actual let's put aside the competitive nature of Strongwoman for a moment. Did you attend a strongman gym first, or did you compete in an event first? Which one came first?
So I was in like a commercial gym learning how to lift, and then when I did that competition, I was going to like a weightlifting club, but it wasn't like British weightlifting, it was this all round Weightlifting Association. It was a guy called Steve Gardner who used to do strongman back in the day, competed with Jeff Capes, John Paul Sigmarsson, all the greats. Really interesting guy. So yeah, it was him and his wife Karen Gardner who ran this gym, and she was the first woman that I'd ever seen kind of lift. A lot older, but she was lifting, and that was cool. So I went there, and it was kind of, we met on was it like a Monday and a Wednesday, and we'd go through all the lifts. It was very, very structured, like we're doing this one and then we're doing this one. And very different to how I train now. And yeah, so I kind of trained with them, and they were like, oh, we've got a competition, like, do you want to join in? And yeah, it all started there. So I was in that environment first, which I would say is very different to like a strongman gym, now that I know how a strongman gym is. So that was first, and then I actually slipped into a strongman competition before. So my partner Matt competed in a strongman competition, having trained in a normal gym, and when he was there was like someone had dropped out, so they had someone going up on the deadlift on their own, and they were like, anyone from the crowd want to join in? Matt pushed me in. I did loads of deadlifts, and then a guy from the strongman gym, local at the time, was like, oh, you're pretty strong, you should come along and train with us. And that's the point at which I then went and trained in a strongman gym. I intended to, after the weightlifting introduction, I actually wanted to go and do powerlifting, and then I got kind of sucked into strongman, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
How long had you been training before you entered that weightlifting competition?
Oh, like nothing. Literally, I think I started training in like 2015. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't experienced at all. Like, it was just give it a go.
So we've recently spoken to a couple of ladies in different sports that are like strength athletes like yourself. Annie, who's a British powerlifter, she's an absolute weapon and machine, and Ava Biesterfeld, who's in Team USA for weightlifting. So we know her dad quite well. And something that they've both said, and what you've just mentioned a minute ago, is once you find something you really want to do, you're just like jump in at the deep end and go for it. The other thing they've both said that you've just said is you identified your talent early. So when you first started doing this, you realized, and you had someone say to you, you're quite good at this. Would you like to come and give it a shot properly? And all three of you had a very similar experience.
Interesting.
Did you understand from that earlier point, like 10 years ago, that you had something that other people didn't? Did you know that?
No.
Right.
I was told I had potential, but I didn't. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago I'd be where I am now and achieved the things I've achieved, even like lifted the weights that I've lifted, I would have laughed in your face. I remember the first time Matt took me to the gym and like tried to get me to deadlift, and I was like all over the shop with like a 90-kilo deadlift. And I know for a beginner, a 90-kilo deadlift is really strong. It's really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, most people don't do that.
I know that now. I didn't know that then. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. I just loved it. And it was, so like when I was so I did my first competition, like strongman competition, in 2016, which was like very early and after transitioning from the weightlifting. And that was, so I did 2 competitions that year, like novice level. I won the novice one, and I think I came like 4th in my very first one, which was a under 75 kilo one. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's fun, but still didn't think anything of it. And then when I was prepping for the England's qualifier, which was my 3rd competition, I was like, all my goal is to not embarrass myself. Like, I would love to qualify for England's Strongest Woman, but I just want to not make a tit of myself. And I ended up, that year I won that qualifier. I came 2nd at England's Strongest Woman and 3rd at Britain's Strongest Woman. And that's the point where I was like, there it is, that's Britain's Strongest Woman that first year. That's where I was like, oh, maybe I can do it.
Yeah. So that was the
there it
first
is, that
time.
caption.
Oh yeah.
What
This
weight
is
category
nice.
was that?
I like these throwbacks.
What weight category was that in? Was that just
Under 64.
under
So
64?
here
Yeah.
we go. A year later, I'm weighing 61 kilos. Oh my goodness. So when I did that deadlift at that competition, the guy Ant Brown who encouraged me to take it up was like, you'll be really good, but I think you should drop down to under 63 kilos at the time, that category, to be competitive. And I was like, oh my god, I was weighing like 72, 73 kilo at that point.
Wow.
I did it. Like, honestly, I don't like the drive I had at the start of my journey was insane. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I'm gonna, like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I lost all that weight. I felt amazing about myself. I was getting stronger and stronger all of the time, like seeing what I was capable of, and it just spiraled. And then once I'd obviously gone through that pathway that year, my first year, and thought, if I can do this as a newbie, like, what else can I do?
Would you say you've got quite an obsessive personality?
Yes. Massively.
Have you got any hobbies, or like do you collect anything? Is there any part of your life where, aside from strongman, that you're obsessive? Is there any traits that filter out of side of the sport?
So it's more like, if I find something, then I'll be obsessed with it. So I don't like, I'm not big on things. I lose things all the time. I'm terrible. But like, so when I started my coaching business, I was obsessed with it. I was like, I need to get better at this. I need to, like, what else can I do? Oh, I'm going to employ people. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then now I've found like this new avenue that I'm going up. It's like, oh, I love it. Like, where can I take it? I'm going to just hit the ground running with it straight away. And I'm going to do it. I booked in my first tattoo. And then I saw another one and I was like, oh, well, I'll just do another one. So I guess, yeah, I can be obsessive in other areas of my life as well. Or not can be, I am.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that is because there's a lot of people that get obsessive in life and don't have an avenue, like a channel to harness that. We've spoken to a really, really bloody good male bodybuilder a few weeks ago. And the ladies that we've spoken to before, we spoke to a lot of people in the last few weeks about this. And there's a common theme there. These people like yourself in sport, they have the ability to just deep dive and become obsessed about something.
Yeah.
And people like myself, I don't really have that trait. It's not in me. Jon, you can speak for yourself, obviously, here.
I do. My son's autistic. I found out I had ADHD after the fact, and then the way you're speaking, I was thinking like, oh, I don't want to be rude and ask, are you ADHD by any chance?
I'm not. I don't have it diagnosed. I used to actually work in diagnosing ADHD and autism. For me, it wouldn't be worth even going through the process because I wouldn't medicate because I don't mind.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, likewise.
Well, you're not the first person to say it.
When you were saying like, oh, I do this and I go all in, it's like, oh, that's like, I see very much traits in myself, and it's like that's what I like. I get obsessed with things. That's why I gave up things like alcohol, because it was just like, oh, I didn't want to go down drugs because I knew like, oh, if I was to do that, then I'm going all in on that. So it's like,
I think that's it. And I mean, like, when I was a kid, I think I went all in, like, in my schoolwork. I was really academic, and I was really, even if I wasn't enjoying it, I was obsessive. Like, I need to revise. And I would literally have like rooms full of like index cards of things because I was obsessed. Like, I had like a compulsion, like, I have to do this. And I always, when I had therapy like a couple of years ago, I always joked that like, if I didn't become a strong woman, I probably would have not had a great time and would have got obsessed with the wrong things.
It can be destructive, that obsessive trait, can't it? And I think that's one thing that we've obviously found, and everyone in sport knows this, but it can be harnessed. That obsessive trait can be harnessed, and it's there for a reason. It's there inbuilt in the DNA of some people,
Yeah.
to be used for whatever, physicality, mentality, whatever it is. But it's when it gets used in the wrong direction, it can be quite destructive, which is absolutely right. What was I going to ask you?
There's worse things to be obsessed with than your business and
Yeah.
Yes.
your health and fitness. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
helping other people in the process
Yeah.
of those, pursuits. There's worse things that you could be doing with your time and obsessing about.
Yeah.
Like Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be worse. He's doing right though. He's doing it right now. He's got a good bench press and he can do muscle ups. So that's
Amazing.
That's all that he cares about. Good. So there was a post, and again, this is one thing I was going to ask you about is body image. Can we call it strongman? Is the sport just strongman?
That's what I would refer to it as. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, rather than getting around sportswoman, strongwoman. In strongman, correct me if I'm wrong here, and it might be on the lighter division. It might be a bit different. Completely naive here. Is there still body image issues within the competitors of strongman?
Massively.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it what level you're at and who you're talking to depends on what, but at the end of the day, all the people that do this sport are human beings. And human beings, I think, I was going to say particularly women, but that's not true, because when I talk to my male clients, it's exactly the same, if not worse in some cases.
Right.
We're constantly, as we're brought up, told to shrink ourselves, make self-depreciating jokes, especially in the UK. In Britain, it's very accepted to take the piss out of yourself all the time and say, oh, I'm so fat, or oh, I'm so ugly, ha ha ha. So that's just what we do. We find it very difficult to be positive about ourselves. And then in terms of like body image, I think kind of grassroots, like when I came in, it was just that general day to day, I don't feel good enough. When I try things on, nothing fits and I don't look nice in things. I'm now very happy with my body. It's done amazing things for me, but I still have the occasional day, like anyone, where I'm like, oh dear. But then we also have the other end of the spectrum, and I know like a lot of the women I've spoken to, especially at the higher level, who have very like developed physiques, who when they are in a competition or they're in an expo or they're in a gym, they'll wear like crop top shorts, get all their muscles out, they look amazing, they feel amazing. But the second that they step into another environment, so let's say they go on a night out, they go to a restaurant, they go and do the weekly shop, and people stare at them, then it's like, oh my god, my confidence is through the floor, because I don't look normal or what people expect me to look like. So I think like both ends, there's that. And sometimes as well, like especially in the open weight, I guess not so much in the weight classes because you're staying under a particular weight, but in the opens now, like it's getting so competitive and so much more on the line than there ever has been. People are having to fuel more for performance and kind of put their body image to the side and get bigger. Like Inez Carrasquillo, the Invitational and Arnold winner, has posted quite a bit about this. Like she's put on a lot of weight to make her performance better, but she's got no end of shit for it, and she doesn't feel good in her skin, but it means that she can perform. So there's like that balance to end with.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it more rife with the open weight categories? Like,
but then I think it's the same, like in weight classes, it's something I hate about my sport, but there are so many ridiculous cuts that get done, like insane cuts. People are cutting dangerous amounts of weight with water manipulation that we know isn't safe. And when they step on the scales for a weigh-in, they're absolutely shredded. And they look, in their words, amazing. And I think it's the same thing that you get with bodybuilding, where you're like, oh my god, I look so amazing, but it's not sustainable, and then they bounce back, and then it's a whole head
well, you look at last weekend at the Arnold, that lady, you know, it unfortunately they're getting younger and younger. But yeah, it's one of the hazards, I guess, of having weight divisions. And it's one thing that with CrossFit that I do, Jon doesn't currently, but it's one thing that I, you know, part of my repertoire of coaching, I do CrossFit. And it's one of the benefits of CrossFit is that there isn't a weight division, although the movements themselves do kind of dictate them, lend themselves to different body types and weights. There isn't that stipulation of having to be a certain weight. There's no weight categories in the jungle, you know, so that's the kind of the unwritten rule within CrossFit. That doesn't necessarily though come without its body image issues. But it's one thing that CrossFit does have that the other strength sports don't necessarily have, to their credit. But although what I will say is that particularly where I've been concerned in you know, British weightlifting and powerlifting over the last sort of 10 years or so, there has been a push towards getting people away from the cuts, and also at the younger generations, even up to the juniors. So you're looking at under 23s. It's, you know, if they're within a couple of kilos of the weight category, they're just, you know, allowed through. There's less pressure on there. So there has been some adaptations made, and they are looking at that for the younger guys. But like you say, I think when it's a proper strength sport like yours, it's it's pure strength. It's in the title. Mass moves mass a lot of the time. So it's one of those hazards, and I think there's a lot more education, a lot more discussion around that to be had at the you know, the upper echelons, the people that run the sport. I
can't believe you just said I don't do CrossFit. I signed up for the Open this year, mate.
Oh, you did, didn't you? I'm so sorry. I know that would have bothered you.
I'm an active CrossFitter for the next
you are
3 days.
Next 11 days.
Until Monday.
I did a CrossFit comp once. Does that mean I'm a CrossFitter too?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Stick that in your bio. Stick it in your bio.
Yeah, I did actually see, Chloe, that you trained at CrossFit Tamworth quite a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Good. Speaking of people that put on a lot of weight for their sport, for performance, and then had to give it up because of that. Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie a few times. Hey?
I thought you were going to bring someone else up there.
Oh, right. No. Yeah. So Eddie Hall, he went up to over 200 kilos, didn't he? At 6'2".
Well,
yeah, he was big. Like seeing him after that World's Strongest Man, and then like now,
yeah,
it's insane how large he was.
Yeah, like a bull. I've got a client, Tom, who used to do strongman in Leeds. He's moved to the island. He did a few like sessions with Eddie and trained with him a little bit. And he's got a picture of himself going for dinner with Eddie in early 2017. So December 16 into January 2017. And there's a picture of them sat at this dinner table. And fuck, like Tom is a big guy. He played rugby league. He's strongman and he's big. But oh my God, the size of Eddie sat next to him. It's absolutely mental. Like when people say about like that they make normal people look like dwarves or small, they bloody do. Like they're just giants. Yeah, and on top of that, like Mason said, very, very good swimmer.
Yeah, he was a diver, was he? Did he dive or did he swim?
He was a swimmer, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like at quite a high level. He was in like development squads and things, I think.
You wouldn't want him diving in that in 2017, would you?
No.
You know.
Like a cannonball.
But yeah, his brother's an absolute.
He was like 31, 32 stone.
Yeah. He was a big lad on that frame. You know, on a 6'2" frame. If it's like Hapthor or Brian Shaw, like 6'9", like 200 kilos is a lot of weight, but it's sort of spread a little bit more than 6'2".
I was talking to Eddie a couple of years ago, and we were talking about like when he was that big, and I was like, how did that feel like psychologically? Because that can't have been comfortable, like what you had to go through to do, like achieve what you wanted to achieve. And he said that like towards the end of it, he legit went to sleep every night wondering if he'd wake up because it was that dangerous to his health.
It's insane to think that you're that dedicated to a goal, that you're like that you might not wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
But you do it anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. But yeah, he did.
it's insane to think that.
Yeah.
That they're
And
chasing that one thing.
Yeah, but I guess like strongman is unique there, where it's the purest of strength sports. And I don't think any other sport you are putting your body in that particular, other than sumo wrestling, but that's the only other one I can think of where bigger is better. You know, big, get as big as you can for the men anyway.
I see. I think there's like a new era now, and I think
Yes.
people
Oh,
are
yeah,
catching on that, like, yes, so like weight will help you to a certain extent on your static lifts and things like a truck pull, but actually on other events it can hold you back so much. And like if you see a lot of the bigger guys needing like oxygen after every event, like they can't recover between events, and it actually becomes a detriment. So I think it was a lot of strongman, and I might get shit for this. A lot of even the athletes that you see that are at the top are so amateur, like so amateur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And don't have the correct guidance.
They've not crossed over into like treating it like a professional sport.
Yeah,
like,
it's not.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think's holding them back? Because there's so many parallels here that I'm got in the back of my head, right? And I'll say about them in a minute. But what do you think is holding them back from becoming professional?
I think one of the things is that it was brought about as an entertainment sport, not as a sport. It was a TV program before it was anything else. So it's always been a bit of a freak show. And I think people latch onto that and they're like, oh, I just want to be a freak. Like, I just want to be as big and strong as I can be. And they don't look at it as a full kind of thing. But there's also like, there's no research into it. There's no real organizational governing body. So like with weightlifting and CrossFit, you've got people at the top that kind of govern how things are run. You don't have that in strongman. It is literally a free for all. And almost with that, it means coaching can be all over the shop. So you could have someone coaching someone at World's Strongest Man that's never done a physical training or strength training qualification in their life. They don't know anything.
And do you think, obviously, with Rogue getting involved now, there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, a lot more than has been. So you've had Giants Live trying to keep hold the fort for the last 20, 30 years. You've got the Arnold now. There's more money being injected into the sport at the end of it. So at the prize purse. But is there money in sponsorship, in lead up, in club level, in food, in performance? You know, is there money in the sport at that level?
Not really. You have to go after it. Like I've been fortunate with sponsorships. I've had several brands approach me that have worked with me and given me a kind of a good deal. The way I see a sponsorship is that both parties have to get something out of it. But I think in strongman, there's a culture. Like I know people who compete at Giants Live who have had sponsorships with brands who have not paid them any money. And I'm like, if you're that well known and you are promoting that brand, they should understand it's influencer marketing at the end of the day. A sponsorship is, they should understand how that works. If they're just giving you kit or giving you a discount on kit, that isn't helping you. Yeah, it might get you a few extra followers, but followers don't pay for your flights to your competitions or your accommodation. So I think there's a massive culture in strongman that nobody wants to pay for anything and people expect things for free, and it's very unprofessional in that way. And I think sponsorships are getting there. So like sponsors like SBD are brilliant. I work with Zone Smelling Salts as well, and that they financially support, and it's nothing in comparison to kind of I appreciate it a lot, but in terms of like big sponsorship deals that I know athletes in other sports get, doesn't even compare. And I also think that I'll say it, in strongman and strongwoman, it's not a tested sport, and a lot of brands don't want to get involved with that.
Similar to bodybuilding. Although bodybuilding has got more of a reach because more people do it in the gyms than strongman.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to recap then.
There's a lot there. Sorry, our verbal
No,
diary.
no. I want to get this right. So you've got 6 things there.
Oh.
It's a bit of a circus act.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of research into it. There's no real organization in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like Wild West.
Governing bodies. Okay,
Yeah.
there might be a private company like Giants Live running it and the events, but there's no
That
governing
doesn't go
body.
down to grassroots.
The coaching can be very varied, and there's no legitimate route or explicit route for them. There's very little money in the development stages, and it's not really tested that often, so brands don't want to get involved too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not. There's tested branches now, which is great, and that's like honestly the uptake of that. Like I think it's gone up by like over 100% each year. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
I think that shows that it's needed. Yeah.
So if I was to read those 6 points out, that could be CrossFit.
Okay.
Every single one of those points applies to CrossFit.
Interesting.
And at the moment, we're in a position with CrossFit where people are wondering why participation is down, why brands don't want to get engaged, that kind of. And there's this whole hurrah about where the sport's going, why CrossFit can't organise events, why these other people are coming in to organise private function events. So there's a lot of parallels there. And that's why I asked about it, because I don't know if you know or if you've thought about how that can potentially develop with your particular sport. One point that I had with it was how many times a year would you ideally want to compete at your level?
Typically, I would do like maybe 4 max.
Okay, 4. Cool.
Yeah.
And would you treat them as like a tour itself, or would you see them as completely different events that you travel to, not linked? They're not connected, just 4 separate standalone events that you'd compete at.
Some of them are pathways, so like I've done like Europe's and Worlds in a year before, and I've done like the natural pathway of like a UK and then Worlds, and then I have done some like random ones. So like when I did Giants Live Brits, that was a standalone event, and I think it also depends on the events and how close they are into. I don't know if you mean like in terms of preparation, like and programming, how it's treated. It totally depends on what the events are, but it's taken into consideration everything, and then looking, okay, how can I prepare for this, and then actually that links in really nicely with this, so I can pull that over.
I just think the commonality between your sport and CrossFit and a lot of other strength sports, hell of a lot of other strength sports, is the lack of money in the development side. Once you get that fixed, the other things are just as important as each other. But the lack of money in the development side of it is where everything can change. So you look at Eddie. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, in terms of how often I would want to compete, part of that is because I'm fortunate that I have sponsors that will pay for me to get to competitions, but for most, they will fund getting to a competition, and there's literally no prize money. So you have to make it worth it. Whereas like the open women now are getting paid to go and compete in these competitions, so they will want to do it more. The open men get paid to compete at Giants, so they will, like, if I was getting paid at every competition I did, I'd want to compete more because I could earn more.
Yeah. Do you think your body would be able to deal with that? The demand
it would depend
of more
on the competitions. I think it could deal with more than 4, but if I was doing it every month, maybe not.
So my thoughts have been about strength sports is that you need cycling, you need to deload, you need to go through tapering, you need to kind of build up that actual strength base to be able to use it.
Ties in with me.
We can talk about this before. With max deadlift and other long term taxing movements. What's the ideal period between competitions?
Yeah, we both coach weightlifters and powerlifters. So ideally, like I would tell mine, I wouldn't want them competing more than 4 times. I would say they probably need like 3 competitions a year is probably enough for like my powerlifters, unless they qualify. Like, so I've got juniors, like people competing at the British Championships, or they might qualify for Scottish Masters or whatever it might be, and it's like, yeah, you can do those, but you see athletes that are competing, 6, 7 competitions a year, and they're not giving themselves time to actually develop in the off season. So it's like I can see why people would want it from a financial standpoint, but
Yeah.
they probably put themselves back a little bit doing so many comps in a year as well.
That's one thing for the actual individual, the athletes have to go through.
Yeah.
But my thought on this for strength sports is that we as coaches and athletes, we don't want to overload and burn out in typically a year's cycle. We need expectations set for sponsors for those injections of money. We need to make sure that they know, if you're a swimmer, if you're a cyclist like Mason, if you're going out, like I've got a cousin that's a professional cyclist, going out for 4, 5, 10-hour rides, there's a lot of exposure there. He can do that every month. It's not too impactful on his, on his physique, and his kind of, he's not going to burn out as much. He competes pretty much every other week. With strength sports, that demand on the body is so different. And for sponsors to get money back and return on the investment into the athletes, then that socials are pretty important, I guess, for strength athletes. And socials are only the last 5-10 years. So I would probably hazard a guess and say that's where the development's been made over the last 5-10 years in strength sports, where the money started to come from and where it will continue to come from. Because I don't see how, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, by the way, I think there should be a lot more money in it. But I don't, with Rogue, we know where Rogue get their money. It's their event, they sell kit, they are, Kate and Bill are literally like almost billionaires from their brand. Arnold is Arnold. And Giants Live's been going for the best part of 30 years now as a brand. But yeah, it's just interesting. It's an interesting sort of thought experiment to think, where would that money come from and what are they getting in return? The money. But I think once you fix that, because the performance is there, but the athletes can't transition into professional athletes until they can pay their mortgage, until they can pay for food, because there's a lot of food, until they can travel. So it's one of those catch-22s that needs to be highlighted and talked about, I guess, across strength sports in general. But yeah, there we go. Sorry, took us on a tangent there. So my next,
I was going to say, speaking of food, there's a lot of food. What, or unless you've got something to pull up, what is?
No.
Because obviously you need to be. It's under 73s, isn't it?
Yeah, I compete under 73s, and I've done like a few open shows.
What do you typically kind of walk, if you don't mind, like answering? What like weight do you kind of typically walk around at? Do you cut for under 73s or?
Now I walk around about 75 kilos. I used to compete at under 64, and I started in that class. Obviously, I lost all that weight to begin with and was around under 63 all the time. And then it got to the point where I was getting up to like 68 kilos. Oh, that's England's strongest woman under 64. Yeah, and then it got to the point where I was having to do bigger and bigger cuts. I never did any dangerous cuts. It was all kind of diet and like a water load, and very kind of careful one. And I was like, you know what, my health's more important to me, so I'm going to go up a weight class, just get stronger. And yeah, I've only ever had to cut like 2 kilos, which I think every 73 show I've done, I've been 73 the day before, like through diet and down, so it's been dead easy for me.
So I can't imagine going into like a strong woman competition after doing like these big like gat cats and water cats.
It's so stupid.
Doing like dynamic events. It's not like you're just going out there to do a snatch and then going sitting down. You're moving from A to B. You're like it's so much more.
It's like stepping out onto the competition floor drunk after doing a water cut. Like cognitively, that's what it's like. But it's like a trendy thing. And yeah, it grinds my gears a little.
So I wanted to pull this up because one guy that we speak to a lot, Savon, he he did a documentary, and he's very, very good friends with the arm wrestling community.
Yeah.
And this guy, is it Devon Larratt? Is that his name?
Devon Larratt, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he's had him on his show, you know.
That's who Sebi did the job. That's the documentary was about Devon's Pool and John. Yeah, so
Pool and John.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I really wanted to pull that out because that's pretty cool. Now, what's the story behind this?
This was my first ever Arnold's. And he was just outside with a table, and my partner like loved arm wrestling, and he was like, "Oh my god, I need to talk to Devon Larratt." And yeah, then we just got chatting to him, did that, and then actually after this, so on our way home, what is that? It's hilarious, is what it is.
Bag. What is it? Is it a belly?
It's a belly. When we were on the way home from this show, Devon was actually on the same flight as us, the same connecting flight with, so my friend Bex that's filming in the background was sat next to him, and they were having like a real good conversation, and Devon like followed us on Instagram and everything, and Matt was so jealous the whole time. Matt just kept looking around and being like, how was Bex sat next to him? It was really funny.
Oh, that's amazing. Awesome. So that was 2020. Was that the Arnold 2020 you just said?
Yeah, what a time.
Cool. Okay. And how was that? How did that go?
Well, it was while we were out there, the whole Rona thing came about, so we didn't know, like, we'd flown out there and loads of the Arnold was getting called off and cancelled, so we didn't even know if we'd be able to compete. That was my first ever international competition as well. First one that I'd flown out to, but it was amazing, so amazing. Like, my dream had always been to just compete at the Arnold. Like, I just wanted to go, and I made the finals that year and came fourth. It was a real good time.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That was the start of it, I guess, from international kind of recognition. That you had is talk us through the next couple of years. So 21, was that a bit of a wipeout for you with the old Rona?
21, no, 2021 I did my first OSG, which is like now World's Strongest Woman. Was that World's Strongest Woman under 64? That was my first ever Worlds at the end of that year, and I came fifth. I was buzzing. That was an amazing year for me, and that's another moment where I was like, oh, I'm all right at this. So like I'm known for being very good at yoke, and now I'm like, I can confidently say I'm the best in the world at that, and I know I am, and it's fun. But then I had people telling me like, oh, you're going to win the yoke event, the car walk, and I was like, no, like I know I'm good at it, but I'm not going to win it. And I won it by 7 seconds, and then I was like, oh my god, I won an event at Worlds, and I cried like a baby. That was another like, oh my god, I'm doing the thing. So that was 21 was a really good year for me, and 22 was just
silly,
off the charts.
Oh yes. I think where is it?
It's coming.
There we go. Dinnie. Please hold the line. We'll be ready shortly. I'm pretty sure this is the right one. Yeah.
You've done your research.
There we go.
Yeah.
What I love about that is the beginning where you didn't quite get it, and then you just storm back, give it Johnny Concrete, and just fucking do it. It's great.
I knew I was going to do it. That was the thing.
Look at that.
There we go.
Oh, look at me.
There we go. Look at that. How big was the crowd there? Do you know how, like, look at that, tears.
I don't know the numbers, but like typically for the record breakers, there's never that much of a crowd. But the male timber carry event for the classic had just been on, and we were on straight after. So there's actually quite a lot of people there. And I think when they saw this little girl walk in, they were intrigued, so they stayed for a laugh. And it was lit. It was so good. So
I know, and I'm gonna do Jon a disservice here because he's a true Scot. So, however, Jon, I don't want it from you. Chloe, can you describe what those stones mean and what what they symbolize and where the story behind them?
Yeah, so these are actually replica stones. However, they are taken from the River Dee where the actual Dinnie stones are. They were found by David Webster. So the Dinnie stones in Scotland, there's a lot of history behind them. So there's a guy called Donald Dinnie who was phenomenal athlete, known for his athletic prowess in kind of Highland Games athletics. Or I think he did like dancing and all sorts of things. And basically the tale is that these Dinnie stones were used as counterweights when they were building the bridge, and legend has it that Donald Dinnie picked these stones up and walked them from one side of the bridge to the other, the Potarch Bridge, and it's become kind of a feat of strength since then. They were rediscovered, I want to say like in the 70s by David Webster. And since then it's become like a bit of a thing. There he is, good old Donald Dinnie. It's become a bit of a thing to lift them. And yeah, it started off as like a handful of people. I remember I went up with my partner Matt, and he was like number 67 or something. And it's just over the last few years, like absolutely exploded.
Yeah. Well, the what was that series? The Eddie.
Oh, I know the history on the history thing.
It was on, was it?
Hey.
It was on Discovery Channel, was it? It was Eddie.
Something like that. The History Channel. And yeah, there was a few of them. Was it who? Oh, it is the Gobby one.
Robert Oberst.
Yeah.
Obert. Yeah. That was actually really good. That series. I really liked it. They went and did it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Brian Shaw was on it as well.
It's a big event every year in Scotland. People coming up.
Yeah. Good. So that was 22. Now, talk us through kind of your transition from 22 to now. In terms of, you mentioned right at the start when you did a brief introduction to yourself about what you're establishing now and what you're doing now. So the life coaching, holistic approach to stuff. Talk us through that and talk us how you got to that point.
Okay,
from 22.
Well, I started my coaching business in 2020. Right in lockdown. It was kind of okay, I'm not helping people as much as I want to help people in nursing. I've got kind of good at this other thing. Maybe I can put the two together and bring something different to the strongman space. So that's kind of where that started. And that was growing really well. And then I think 22, so that lift come back, like overall that year was just insane. I went up, so I did that as an under 64, and I also placed second at the Arnold Amateur under 64 that same weekend. So I'd done my fourth event just before I went and did that record, and then I had 2 more events the day after. Yeah, so that was my last show as a 64, and then I moved up to under 73s. Competitive career carried on building, but I think that moment it built my profile a lot. People started to know who I was. People wanted to know what I had to say. And obviously all of those things really help when you're trying to establish a coaching business. I'd gone full time with my coaching in 21, but definitely that lift helped a lot in terms of building a brand and having a bigger reach, and people were coming to me because they were like, oh, I saw you do this lift and it was really, really cool. So that massively helped kind of my trajectory. And I think it also gave me more confidence in myself of like, obviously I was against Donna Moore and Rebecca Roberts, who are literally the 2 greatest strong women of all time right now, or 2 of, and I did something that they couldn't. I did a hard thing and it was like, oh, like I can do really hard things. I know what I'm talking about. Like I put myself out there and it really paid off. So I'm just going to keep putting myself out there and keep seeing if it pays off. And yeah, and I love coaching so much. And it's not just like, obviously I love the physical side of it and seeing people go from walking in a gym, getting PBs all the way up to kind of taking people to worlds and prepping people for big comps as well, and kind of the 2 and everything in between. But the big thing for me was seeing people's confidence grow, and people use the strength that they've built in the gym to cross over into other areas of their life. And I think that's always what I wanted to. Sorry, I've gone blurry. I'm going to try and sort out. I've always just wanted to help people. And I think when I went into nursing, that's all I wanted to do, like make people feel better about themselves. And over this last kind of year, I've discovered other ways that I can do that. So with the life coaching and NLP and hypnotherapy. And honestly, it's insane. Like, so I can't believe it when I'm doing it sometimes. Like, I was with someone today and they were really struggling with something. And I was like, well, I know there's this thing I can do. It'll take us about 10-15 minutes and we can shift that feeling. And by the end of that, she was like, oh my God, I feel different. And with another friend who's a competitor, she's had like knee pain for 2 years. She's had the surgery, she's done all the rehab, but she was still petrified of being in pain all the time. And felt pain every day. And then that's funny, Corey. And we did a hypnosis session, and for the last week she hasn't thought about the pain and hasn't experienced any pain. And I'm like, wow, oh shit, like this is so powerful. And it's something that I'm now wanting to I want to help people, just everyday people, because I think my whole life is strongman, and it's nice to step out of that sometimes. But I also want to bring it across into performance, because I think, well, I know that it's an area kind of working subconsciously with athletes that we can get so much more out of people, like so much more, and it's exciting.
Yeah. It's one of the benefits. We definitely, well, I speak for myself here, we definitely don't coach to become millionaires. It's a love, and both you and John have been in the care industry, so there's a big trait there across the type of people that you want as a coach, are people that just give a shit, and you can tell they're not in it just to get a payday. It just so happens that the best people for the job end up getting a payday because they care the most.
I want to make lots of money coaching, but I think it's for the right reasons. If that makes sense.
This is a thing though, and I've spoken about this a lot, and I think as I've done more of like the life coaching stuff, and obviously part of that is working on people's finances with them and their money mindset. Like, there's such a taboo around making money in sport or in coaching or in care, and like, oh, you're only doing it for money. Well, yeah, I run a business. The whole point of running a business is to earn money. If I earn money, it means I can do a better job, and I want to live a comfortable life. It's not a bad thing.
Exactly. That's the thing. But it's people get it the wrong way round, I think, sometimes.
They get your money first.
And
I think people see it like from the outside, prospective clients think when you start making money, they think like, oh, that's why you're doing it. But it's like, no, I need to be able to make money to reinvest, to put out like valuable content, to invest in qualifications, to give me time back to actually coach. To be there for the clients that I do have.
But again, I think, and it's funny because obviously we've got everyone in the chat is American right now.
We've got a particular man that likes to parade as a black man, but I don't know if he is actually, but he's asking a lot of questions.
Oh, I've only just realised how to click onto them. I can see them.
Well, he's asking a lot of questions.
But culturally speaking, in Britain, because of my degree's in history, right? So sometimes I go down this rabbit hole of using historical context. But I think in Britain, for the last 1,000 years, take away the last 50, the rich people were them. The elite, the royals, the nobility, the people that had the money. We hated them historically. They were the enemy. So over the last 120, here we go, Heidi. Put your hat on. Because we've had that caste system, we've had that, that level playing, it wasn't a level playing field. We still have a cultural resentment and I speak for myself here, I'm from a working class background. I heard things as a kid, and the people I hung around with that had a real fucking resentment of people that had money.
Yeah.
And there's this hatred, not hatred, that's a strong word, but there's a resentment and a how dare they've got the money, they don't put it back to us, Now the tide's turned a little bit because our economy has completely changed. Even since I was a kid, our economy has completely changed. And specifically going back to I say our, you know, the three of us work in a very, very, very similar kind of environment. Our environment has completely changed in the last 10 years, 15 years. Our ability to earn has gone from one-on-one coaching in a gym at 6 o'clock in the morning to earning around the clock with people around the world over at the click of a button. So, and that's meant completely different mindset. So you've got this massive shift in people, specifically in our environment, that are really making waves, and it's really great to see. But every now and again I have to check myself with that. I have to remind myself, you know, I've got I turned 40 yesterday, Chloe, so that's why someone's bloody said about 40. Thank you. But I've got 2 kids, and I've got to put the roof over their head. I've got to feed them. I've got to live for longer. I've got to do all this kind of stuff. I need money for that, whether you like it or not. You need money, and it shouldn't be demonized to want to earn with legitimately, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's such a great point that we need to kind of, especially in Britain, we need to get rid of that, shake that thing off, and say, you know, because we've got an incredible opportunity. We just need to shake that little resentment off.
And it sometimes not even a thing from like coming from like what class, you know, you were brought up. It's where I'm from. It's a small town in the Highlands, and if you're seen to be doing something different, like I put out content, you know, speaking on social media, and then I'll see people in the shop and they'll go, "Oh, what you saying? Influencer, got a podcast?" And you're like, right,
to be fair, I would as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and Jake will poke fun at me sometimes. Like they say I'm 10x, and you know, and it's like people will see me in the shop now and they'll be like, "Oh, I've seen you at a podcast." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Do you think you're some influencer?" And it's like, "No, I'm just trying to put myself out there, mate. It betters my business. It's not harming anyone. It helps some people. Some people, the 5 people that are watching might enjoy it. They might just like coming on here, and me and Jake. But like, it's helping me. It's putting my face out there, and it gets me clients in the door. That's more people I can then help. It's like,
yeah,
I could be out there doing worse things, you know, to provide for my family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
like,
going back to your point, Chloe, we do need to shift that kind of mentality, especially in our kind of position in culture. I enjoy it. You enjoy what? Inspirations. So where do you draw inspiration from? It can be people, it can be a thing, it can be an event. You mentioned about the 2022. That's quite a pivotal point with the Stones.
Yeah.
Is there someone that you draw inspiration from or something?
This question's always a really strange one for me. There's a lot of people that I admire and a lot of people that I respect. But I wouldn't say I've ever like the thing that puts the most fire under me is knowing that I've done things that I didn't think I could ever do. So like my own experiences and my own proving myself wrong is what pushes me, because I'm like, oh my God, I had this thing that I never thought I would be able to do and I did it. How cool is that? And that's the most personal thing I can ever get. Like my circumstances are not the same as anybody that I admire or kind of look up to. So that's the thing that gets me kind of going. There's like my coach Jenny Todd is someone who I admire massively. She was at the top level when I first started, and I was like, oh my God, if I can ever be like Jenny, like that would be amazing. And I actually got to compete with her in 2023 at Europe's Strongest Woman, which was incredible. So and she actually also was the one who was like, you need to go all in on this coaching and leave your job. So if I was to pick one person who's had a massive influence on me, I would say it's her.
Okay. And I guess inspiration might have been the wrong word for what I was trying to get at. What, and again, motivate, inspire, that they're all sort of cliche, overused words on Instagram reels. But like, if you're going up for a heavy lift, what goes through your head?
I just focus, like nothing else is there. Someone did a painting of my Dinnie lift afterwards, and it helped me to articulate the feeling. So basically, this painting was just me and the Stones, and it was just black around, and I was like, that's the thing. So and someone else just recently did a short reel with me kind of representing that and bringing that to life. And for me, when I'm going for a big lift, like in the lead up to it, like the lead up to big competitions, where the ones where I've done well and I've won is because I've gone into it going, I can win this, I'm going to win it. And then in the actual moment, like for each individual event, it's just 100% focus. I'm not looking to any kind of god or praying to anyone or hoping for anything. I'm literally looking at that implement, thinking about what I need to do, taking a breath, doing my little stomps, and I'm just in and doing it. Like people say they enjoy watching me compete because it's like I'm quite chirpy and happy and dance around in between, and very much like I am now. But when I'm like switched on, like Lucy Underdown, one of the other strongmen who's a really good friend of mine, she's like, oh, I get so excited when Big Bren comes out because I just switch. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's a bigger thing. I think it's just a focus.
Yeah.
Do you use a lot of like self-talk and like I know that obviously you do hypnosis. Do you use a lot of like self-talk prior to comps, leading that? Like, do you do a lot of like visualization, leading into like events?
Yeah, to an extent, and it's something that I worked on a lot in 23. So I worked with a lady called Alexa, she does like a mindset sports performance kind of thing before I started looking more specifically into performance, and she was spoke kind of about the usefulness of creating objective goals rather than I want to place here, okay, what can I achieve on each event, and that's going to get me the best outcome. That really helped. And visualization to a point of okay, if there's, and one thing she did with me actually that was really good was events where I know I'm good, I'm actually fine, I don't need to visualize that because I know I can just switch on and do it. It's the events where I've got something in my head going, okay, what if I can't do that, what if this goes wrong? So for me it was like a deadlift ladder, if I miss the deadlift, or on a like sandbag medley that's real fast, what happens if I drop the sandbag? Like I fucked it. And she went with me doing oh no, if and then. So if I drop the sandbag, then what will I do? So I came up with a plan, and that's that then there. So I'm like, if I drop the sandbag, I've already got it written down and I've studied it. I'm gonna stay calm, I'm gonna regrip, I'm gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna finish it. Real simple, but if you don't plan it out, you're like, ah. And also she would get me to do like self-talk things like, okay, you're at the start line, what do you want to be thinking and what do you want to be saying to yourself? Think about all of that and then summarize it in one word. And I'd use that word, and then we'd go like an anchor.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've got 2 kids. I will come back to your point. I've got 2 kids, and a lot of the time, my main focus on them is how they talk about things they're about to do, or jobs they got to do, tasks. And one of the tools that I'm using with them is that self-talk about just simplifying what you're about to do, make it objective, make it as simple as you can. Try and eradicate all the hurdles. Just think about what you can do, what you're about to do, and just really focus on your role in that environment, in that opportunity that's laying in front. What's your role in there? And they're 7 and 6, so it's quite early days yet. But do you think that you've learn to do that in sport and then you've implemented it outside of sport? Or do you think you learned it outside of sport and you've started to use it in sport?
I think a combination of the two. As you were saying that, I was like, my dad used to be exactly the same. My dad would be like, I can hear his voice in my head now saying, focus on what you can do, forget
Yeah.
about what you can't. So I'm so fortunate to have had such amazing values instilled in me. And another thing that he said that always sticks with me is you only regret the things you didn't do.
Yeah.
So that kind of attitude has always been instilled in me. So I think I'm more predisposed to listen and respond to that kind of talk. But I think life is what made me open to those suggestions. And I think sport helped me to apply it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sport was your tool.
Yeah, to be like, oh, it does work. That's what he was talking about. And then now I can do it outside.
Sport was your paintbrush. And your values are all the paints that are on your palette and you get to draw with it, you know?
Yeah, I love a metaphor. I like that.
Bloody love a metaphor. John, you're about to say something. I cut you off, sorry.
No, I can't even. I've lost my train of thought. I was just listening to what you were saying, and now I've actually lost it. That's the ADHD in me coming right there.
You're thinking about squirrels now, aren't you?
No, I was actually reading Jeremy's comment when you were speaking. I was like, fucking getting like fucking off for it. But we're going. I was going to say when you were saying about I've lost my train of thought again, but it was to do with Jesus Christ. I was going to say about Michael Jordan, like you can only miss the shots that you don't take, and it kind of tied in with what you were saying. It's like, what's the worst that can happen if you go out there and try? Like,
in the same position,
you might not achieve what you set out to achieve, but if you don't go out there and try, you're never going to achieve it. So why not just go out there and do what you, as Jake says to his kids, focus on what you need to do. Like everyone else doesn't matter in that.
There's a lot to be said for failing as well. Like I think failure can actually be so good for you. There's in NLP, one of the things that I practice as a kind of presupposition that there's no failure, only feedback, and I think that's an extreme. But I do think it's true. Like if you fail something, like you can learn from it, but it also just builds resilience. Like putting yourself out there and not getting what you went after, but it's the fact that you like. Nothing awful happened. You might have been a bit embarrassed. You might have had a little cry. Someone might have said something, but you're still alive. The world's still turning. There's a lot to be said for that.
It's like sorry, Jake. It's like failing a lift. You then see where you need to work to improve on it. Like you find your sticking point. What went wrong? And it's like, cool. Well, the feedback we got is like, this is where your sticking point was. We go away and we do X, Y, and Z. We come back stronger next time. It's like anything.
But that's the difference between training and competing. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, is that they treat their training like their competition. And we see it a lot in CrossFit gyms, is where every day is a competition. Everyone's fixated on their whiteboard score or their weight or their lift or their time or their load or whatever. And my daughter is in gymnastics, and I don't know if you've ever done gymnastics, Chloe, or you've been involved. Yeah, so she's, like I said, she's 7, turning 8 this year. She's still development stages. And my son is a year younger, and it isn't a boy-girl thing, because I know a lot of girls like this and a lot of boys like my daughter, but she is obsessed with doing things first time. She has to do it first time. She stresses out, she cries, she panics when she can't do it. And my job and my wife, Katie, we're very calm parents, is to just settle her and just say, look, this is why practice is so important. We've got to find the stuff that you can't do. That's why we practice. The whole point in practice is to find the stuff you can't do so that you can get better at it, so that you can do it. We're not just after the stuff you can do, because we don't really need to practice that too much. So that when it comes to competition, when it really truly matters at the competition stage, we can do it because we've drilled it, and then we know we can do it. You're building that confidence in those movement patterns and the lows and everything. like that. But it's funny, we're finding tools all the time. So today, for example, she was doing her routine that she's got a floor routine coming up on the jiu-jitsu mats in the gym that we've got. But we got the iPad out, and she was able to record herself. She was sitting down. She if she didn't get it right, she a little bit annoyed with herself, but she goes down. She has a watch. She watches. She uses the tool that's provided. She feeds back. She has a look. She tries again. And for her, visualizing, seeing that visual feedback has been so damn important. But having said that, she's not a visual learner. And I was going to ask you about this. So you said earlier on you've got the cue cards all over your walls, and you need it written down, and you rep. Does that mean that you're not much of a visual? Have you got a visual memory? Are you a visual learner, or do you need to repeat so that movement and that everything's ingrained in you?
I think it can be both. Like I'm a very visual person, so if I was to do a VAT questionnaire, like the visual audio and kinesthetic kind of learning, I come out really high on visual, with feel in there as well. But I think I do like repetition, and I have to do things over and over and over again to get more confident. And I don't think that's like a dependent on what kind of learner you are. I think that's just how people learn. Like we learn how to do things by doing them again and again and getting better at it every time and getting that feedback. But I record all of my lifts, and obviously my coach Jenny kind of inputs on certain things, but I learn a lot by watching myself and then thinking, okay, I've watched that, and then I can link that to how that felt. What can I do differently? So like I love that tool for me as well. Right.
Okay. the only reason I push back a little bit on that is my son has got a terrible visual memory. Like we'll be like the other week August last year, we were watching motocross on the beach where we live. About a month later, we were driving down the road, and there was this tree, and my daughter said, "That looks like the man." And the second she said that, I knew who she meant. It was this rider at the event on the beach that had hair like the tree. Me and her have got the same visual memory, so we can see things in our head. My son does not have that at all. Nothing in there. Yeah, which I find absolutely bonkers. Like, how do you have a memory if you can't see it?
But you can imagine it without seeing it. You can describe it with imaginary words.
But I don't get how that exists. Like for me, my memory is vision. So like I see a Coke can, I can see it right now, and I'm picturing it, but he can't. But yeah, I get what you mean. Whereas like my son, he has to drill and be shown and demonstrate and tactile coaching, and he has to go through it a lot. But he learns it really well because of that process. Whereas he does. He gets shamed for not being a visual learner. But however, my daughter, well, because she has that recollection, that instant visual recollection, she knows what it looks like. Doesn't necessarily have to put as many reps in initially. However, that catches up later down the road because she hasn't put in the reps. So I think it's really interesting you said about your visual and you put in the reps, because that's like the sweet spot. I feel if you're a visual learner, you have that recollection, but also you're willing to put in those reps and get the learning cards out and go through it. That's obsessed. That's what obsession looks like.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is lovely. And like I said, it's quite common amongst the people that we've spoken to recently. And the other common thing they've got is they've all mentioned a dad that instilled really good values in them. Like every single one of them. And it's really interesting that you said about that, because I hadn't expected that, but it all kind of came up, which is good. So I appreciate we've taken up a lot more time than we said we were going to. I've got one more question for you, and it's to do with your seminar, really. So I've got so you're coming to near Yon.
Dundee,
I'm just going to pull it up now. So can you tell us more about your seminar you've got coming up?
So There I am. Yeah, I'm going to be up at Dundee Strength Unit on Sunday, and I'm basically going to be talking through my journey from start to where I am now in terms of um, being an athlete, competing, the things kind of I wish. What's the saying? I wish I knew then what I know now, the kind of lessons that I've learned, things that I've picked up along the way, but also kind of digging into business a little bit as well. And it's going to be dead interactive. Like, yes, people can learn from what I've done and might find listening to my story interesting, but I want people to be able to take away actions that they can apply to their life. So we're going to be doing some digging and some activities where people can kind of reflect on where they are in their story, and where they would like that to go and how they can do that, hopefully using some of the lessons that I talked through. So yeah, I'm really excited. I love talking about strongman, love talking about strength sports, and love talking about mindset stuff. So it's going to be a really good afternoon.
Amazing. Excellent. Good.
Did you have is Dundee the only date that you're doing in Scotland?
At the moment, yeah. So I'm coaching at Scotland's Strongest Woman on the Saturday, and then I'm going over to Dundee on the Sunday. But I spend a lot of time up in Scotland, so if there's anyone listening that is up there, whether it's strongman or not, I'm always open to doing more because I absolutely love my seminars.
Where's the competition on Saturday? Is that a GBA by any chance, or?
No, it is at Victory Strength, I think.
Where's that? Is that in Dundee?
Bathgate.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm staying near Edinburgh somewhere in a yurt. Yeah. So I'm taking my partner and my dog are coming with me for the weekend so we can enjoy a bit of downtime. But yeah, so I'll be Bathgate on the Saturday and Dundee on the Sunday.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Jan's got a race. When's your race, Jan? Tomorrow?
Yeah, I actually have to go across to the event tonight to get a start time because I didn't personalise my tickets until yesterday morning. And you have to do that a week before, and I never did it. So I need to actually go across and speak to someone at the help desk. Otherwise, I won't have a start time. But men are on at the moment. The Elite 15 are on at the moment. They should be finishing in the next kind
of... Chloe, have you heard of High Rocks?
I was just about to ask, is it the High Rocks that you're doing? I know that's in Glasgow.
Yeah. Jan's the king of High Rocks.
Amazing. Good
this
luck.
Is 87th High Rocks this year.
The king at the slow speeds.
No, that's epic. I don't think I could. One of my clients is keen to do it, and I've done some commentary work with Lauren Smith, who does a lot of the High Rock stuff.
Oh yeah.
She's awesome. So I've seen bits of it. I'm very familiar with it, but have not dared to try it.
So see, with your coaching business, do you go? Obviously, it's not specifically strongman, strong woman. Do you coach like lifestyle clients? Do you coach just strength athletes? Obviously, you've got clients that are talking about High Rocks events. What kind of path do you take with like because obviously plug your business as well.
Yeah, most of my clients do come for strongman, strong woman training, but I do also have a lot of people who are just like, I want to start the gym and I want to get strong. So it was all kind of strength based. The client that is interested in High Rock, she does everything really. So last year she did the 3 peaks and we kind of got a real strong for that. Now she's kind of toying with the idea of High Rock, so we're just playing about with some of those movements to see how she gets on with it. If she was to go compete, I would definitely kind of get more expertise in on that. Like, I'm always happy to liaise with other people and refer people on if they need to be. But yeah, I work a lot. I've got a couple of powerlifting clients. Really nice variety, and I've got some people who are on a bit of a weight loss journey, but they want to do that around stress. So everyone that I work with is kind of strength focused in some way, because it's what kind of gets me going.
Your socials definitely give a lot of value. Like your social posts, like your coaching posts, are very like easy to follow, easy to understand, and they give. I really enjoyed the split starch, like taking in that front foot first. I shared that to someone yesterday, actually off seeing that, because I've been telling them to do that and then they're still not listening. It's not a client of mine, but someone in the gym, and I was like, here, set on, because like, you know, when like someone's like not your client, it's like probably just don't listen. But I sent this post to them And then
Yeah.
also the one about having strong glutes as well. I thought, like, yes, that's something I tell people all the time.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah,
I like the
really,
studio as well.
really
I know
good.
it's your gym, but it's
Oh
just
yeah,
nice.
this is our conservatory. This was supposed to be a dining room, and then my partner Matt
Nice.
turned it into like a strength museum.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Fucking
it's
awesome. It looks like a purpose-built like podcast
Yeah.
studio. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's what I need to start doing in there.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Sure.
I reckon.
Anyone can do it.
Well, yeah, if we can bloody do it, definitely. But yeah. So Chloe, do you know what? Amazing. You've kind of shed light on everything that you've done. You've given us some background into you as a person and moving forward. Thank you so much for being really honest and open and giving us an insight into your life. And I know Jon's busy over the weekend, but hopefully one of your events or anything in the next year or so, I'd love to be able to come and attend, because as a strength sport coach, it's something that I like to keep on top of and get just different angles, different coaching styles, different, in advice, and from someone that's kind of set the standard and been at the top of the world in terms of the sport. Who better than you to sort of come and hear. So thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. It's been lovely to sort of catch up with you.
She's
yeah,
not,
so
she's not into half black American. She's been with her partner since school.
11 years. I'm very into Matt.
nice. Well, if you just hold on, Chloe, we'll say goodbye to this cheery lot, and then we'll have a chat for 2 minutes. But thanks, guys, for tuning in live, and we'll post this up, and hopefully we'll get some raving reviews. But yeah, nice one. All right, Heidi, thanks very much for joining us. Jon, do you want the last word?
No.
No? All right.
I did it. No, that was the last word.